Ladies and gentlemen, this is Kagekaze, and I'm excited to let you guys know that the Diablo 3 patch has finally hit. That's right, patch 103 is out. Many of you probably already know this, but hey, I wanted to throw out my review of the patch and my thoughts on how they're doing things. Now, there's been quite a bit of bug fixes here, some balancing and changes to classes, but keep in mind this was not the balance patch, so not a lot of balancing, mainly bug fixes here. What's kind of nice is they've given us some changes to the social options, so when you leave the chat channel now, the general chat, you will be put into the general chat again, as was happening before, but now when you leave it and then log out, you should not be put back into it. Your friends lists and your quick joins are now sorted alphabetically, so it makes it easier to find people to join on. These are really great changes. Moving on down the patch list now, basically there's been a lot of, it looks like a lot of changes to classes, but really not too much has really happened here. The big thing you'll notice is for character classes that had some kind of reflection. For example, I'm looking at the Barbarian, ignore pain, the contempt for weakness. That would reflect damage that's done to you. These now have a cap on them. The amount of damage that can be reflected by these skills is now limited by your maximum health. So if you're looking to go into skill reflection builds, you probably want to look into having a high amount of vitality in order to benefit from that the most. Now, a lot of skills look like they got nerfed, but really have only been changed in their tooltips. Using the Barbarian again, his weapon throw, it displays the correct duration for the slow now. Basically, it says hurl a thrown weapon at the enemy for 100% weapon damage and slow the movement of the enemy by 60% for 1.5 seconds. Previously, it said 2 seconds. However, the functionality of the skill was only 1.5 seconds. You'll see this on a lot of other abilities that used to say 2 seconds. They now say 1.5. These are not functional changes. These are tooltip corrections. So you should not actually see a reduction in how the skill works for you. Barbarians did get a slight nerf to their Relentless passive. This is the one that would allow you to use your skills for free once you went down to under 20% health. That has been nerfed a little bit. The Fury cost is now 75% reduction instead of 100%. And I imagine this is to keep people from just perpetually staying in a low state of health and then just spamming ranged abilities to keep out of melee combat. So even with that slight nerf, honestly, 75% is a massive reduction in Fury cost, especially when there's not too many Fury spenders out there that take a ton of your Fury. So this seems like the skill would still be kind of useful. Now, there was a bug fix to Demon Hunters, and a lot of people are calling it a nerf. Yes, technically it is a nerf because it's going to be reducing damage of certain skills. But again, bug fixes each were not intended to work the way they were. For example, Caltrops, Jagged Spikes. The effect will only stack up to 10 times now on a single target. I hadn't tried it, but I'm guessing by that wording is that it stacked higher than it should have and was doing a lot more damage than intended. As well as Elemental Arrow, the skill rune Nether Tentacles. These tentacles will now only hit each target once. Previously, they were hitting a target more than once, which meant targets with large hitboxes, such as Asmodon, he would basically get hit multiple times, and since the tentacles also heal you for every hit they do, not only are you doing a ton of damage, but you're getting healed as well. Unfortunately, because of that, it was making other parts of Elemental Arrow obsolete. Why would you want to use Lightning Ball when Tentacle practically does the same thing as well as giving you healing? So what this has really done is bring the skill back in line with the other skills and made other skills more useful. Now, they still want to do a balancing patch. Please keep this in mind. They still want to do a balancing patch. They still want to buff other Demon Hunter skills to make them more useful. They are aware of other skills that are being underutilized just because they just don't seem appealing enough. This nerf was not meant to be a replacement for that idea. It was a bug fix that needed to happen. the skill should now be in line. Other skill runes for Elemental Arrow are still very good. I've tried a few of them. No, I'm not quite max level yet, but I can kind of tell when something is a little bit too good. I've seen a lot of Demon Hunters using the Tentacles. Honestly, when I see that, when I see almost every class I run into using the same skill, I have to wonder if maybe there's something fundamentally broken that's causing them all to want to use that skill. Now, monks have gotten a nice little benefit of being able to use more two-handed types of weapons. They can use two-handed weapons, two-handed swords, they can use spears, so no longer are you limited to Daibos, monks. Congratulations, you have all sorts of options if you want to be using two-handed weapons. I'm not sure how many monks will want to go into that. A lot of monks seem to favor the dual wielding and fast attack speed, but with the nerf to IAS, the improved attack speed, who knows, might see a few more monks coming out with two-handed weapons. And of course, we'll just go over the wizard real quick. Your magic weapon now has a buff icon on your UI. So this is one that some wizards have been asking for, because sometimes in the heat of battle you might not see magic weapon drop off, especially with its 5-minute duration. And now you can keep an eye on it there and pop it as needed. So now with that out of the way, I was just talking about the nerf to improved attack speed. Basically what's happened here with this patch, if you hadn't heard and hadn't been paying attention here, the attack speed bonus on weapons and armor has been reduced by about 50%. So if you had a weapon that had 20% improved attack speed, it's probably going to be down to 10%. Now this does mean that weapons that you had with a lot of DPS might not be as high. I had some one-handed weapons that had a decent amount of improved attack speed on them, and they were over 600 DPS, and now they've dropped down to under 500, so, or a little over 500 actually. So yes, you will see some DPS changes to your weapons, and your damage in general will probably have gone down, especially if you were stacking improved attack speed. Now, I honestly think this is a good change. From what I've been hearing, improved attack speed trumped everything for all classes when it came to gearing out. And what this will do is this will bring improved attack speed back in line with things such as critical strike chance and critical strike damage. You can't have just one stat trump everything, because what this was doing was it was causing everything with improved attack speed to start getting super inflated because everybody wanted it. Other items were falling to the wayside, and it was proving to show little to no diversity between playstyles, because if you're just going for pure attack speed, everybody's going for it, then where's your diversity? So hopefully this will help foster some diversity. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Now this is a nerf to life on hit builds, and I personally did have a life on hit build, so it does kind of hurt me a little bit, but you know, I can move on and get on with it. Now with the recent changes to damages in Inferno, maybe people will find they don't need it as much. We'll have to see. Time will tell. I know there's going to be a lot of fallout from this. A lot of people aren't terribly happy with it, especially because it was a retroactive change. But really, again, one stat should not trump everything. Now, keep in mind too, though, that there has been some buffs to farming. So you might be able to get past this by, farming some lower level areas again. What they've done now is high-end items, item levels 61 to 63, will drop in all acts of Inferno now, and even in acts 3 and 4 of Hell. So if you're not quite ready for Inferno, go into Act 3 and 4 of the Hell difficulty, you have a chance of fighting item levels 61 and 62. So Hell, Act 3 and 4, 9% chance of item level 61, 1.9% chance of item level 62. Item level 63 will not drop, so the best items still will only drop in Inferno. But once you get into Inferno Act 1, you have a chance for any item, item level 61, 2, or 3 to drop right there in Act 1. This is a great change. It's going to help make people gearing up who are sitting there farming Act 1. They might actually get lucky and find a really good item, maybe a high level 63. Now keep in mind, just because an item is item level 62 or 63 doesn't mean it's going to automatically be better. I was farming a little bit today trying to get some footage for this segment, and I found some 62s. I didn't find any 63s, but I did find 61s and 62s, and they were honestly not that great. But they were better than some of the stuff I had been finding. So no upgrades from it, but there is that possibility. So you can always get lucky with a lower item level that rolled really good compared to a higher item level that rolled poorly. But honestly, it's really great to see that anytime in Inferno you can find a really great item, which is kind of a return to the philosophy they originally started with Inferno mode, of being able to farm whatever act you wanted to be able to get whatever gear you wanted. So now there's still that progression curve, and yes, you will have an easier time finding high-level items in higher acts, but you still have a potential of finding them in lower acts, and hopefully this will help people gear out as they go forward, instead of feeling that they need to grind over and over and over again. Of course, also with these changes come some downsides, guys. Repair costs, as you may have seen, have gone up. For item levels 53 and higher, they've gone up. And this is not an insignificant amount. As I was playing and getting my footage, I died a few times, let's say about 2 deaths in, and I was already paying about 13k in repair costs. So, I know there's not a lot of people that really like this, and some people are upset because it's more gold going out, but the truth is I really needed a gold sink at this point. Gold was so prevalent in the community. I mean, there's so much gold out there in the economy that some of the items out there are just going for ridiculous amounts of gold. So this change, coupled with the fact that high-level items can drop earlier in Inferno, I think is going to help stabilize the economy. We're going to see the items start to even out a bit. Hopefully that will make it easier for people to gear, not only through finding items, but through farming the auction house, really. That's what I'm hoping to see through this change. Now, this change was also put into effect to keep people from zerging monsters. And what I mean by that is you could get a champion pack and fight it until it was fairly low on health, and maybe it killed you. Maybe that pack killed you. Well, then all you would do is run back and just keep throwing yourself at it over and over and over again until you finally killed it. Prior to this patch, that was very doable. As the repair costs, I could break all of my gear, and I think I maybe paid 5k at most. 5k. That is a drop in the bucket for someone who's Inferno. And really, that meant death to me had no consequence. Just go in, keep hitting it until I finally kill it. The only time it was a hindrance was if I was in a boss fight and couldn't get out. So I'm glad to see this change. I really am. It's going to suck if I die a lot, but the truth of the matter is if I'm dying a lot, I probably should either skip the pack or go back and get some better gear. So, there have been other changes to finding items, though. So, we've already talked about how you can find the best items now in Inferno, but there have been some slight changes. Now, if you're like me, you might have farmed Whimsyshire once or twice in Inferno, or maybe even Hell, by using a technique where you clear the area, or you have someone else clear it, because you can't. I've seen people selling these kind of runs. Let's say someone clears Whimsyshire, because Whimsyshire counts as Act 3 or 4 for Inferno. But maybe you're not geared up enough to kill things in there, so someone else would clear it out for you. Or maybe you are geared enough. You'd go in with your survivability gear, and you clear it out. Well, after you've done that, you want to find some items. So you would go and grab your Magic Find gear, and start opening the clouds, opening the pots of gold, and reaping the rewards from using your Magic Find there. Another thing that this has fostered is I have seen people that will basically find a resplendent chest, go out, put on their Magic Find gear, open the chest, grab the stuff in the chest, go back to town, take off their Magic Find gear, and continue. I just don't think that's a really great gameplay method. I mean, it slows things down. When you find a chest, you should just want to open it and dig in. So what they've done is they've nerfed this. Magic Find no longer will be considered when looting objects in the environment. Chests, barrels, vases, pots, corpses. So these items will have a flat chance to drop certain items. So when you think about that, the fact that they Magic Find won't be counted for these, don't think that you still can't find an epic item or the best item in the game, basically, for you. You can. It's just that you can't impact it in any way. You cannot improve it through Magic Find, but you can still possibly find really good items there. Now, they have also said that destructible objects will no longer drop items and only have a small chance to drop gold. I want to bring this up because the way they word it, I imagine what they're talking about with destructible objects is they're talking about things like chairs and tables and things like that you could destroy in the environment that are technically not clickable, but you can destroy them through splash damage or just through shift and holding your ground and attacking. Some of these items have occasionally dropped items in the past, and so now it looks like they're going to remove that because it really wasn't intentional, and they want you to... It sounds like what they're really doing here is they're shifting farming to monsters. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go over the Nephalem Valor change now as well. Let me just pull it up here. Basically, what they've done to facilitate this, to get farming back to monsters, is that your Nephalem Valor has changed. Elite packs, rares, and champions can drop an additional item when you have 5 stacks of Nephalem Valor now, which is basically guaranteed to be of rare quality. So, of course, with high Magic Find, you may be able to kick that up into Legendary or Set status. So they basically want pack farming to happen more often, because what a lot of people were doing to farm gear was, say, doing maybe butcher runs. You would go in, get your 5 stacks of Nepval, and then fight the butcher to get the items off of him. Well, now, if you kill champion packs, so they want you to basically play more of the act, rather than just say, okay, I'm going to go and kill Leoric. Let's kill 5 guys and kill Leoric. You know, now you can actually go through the acts, find as many champions as possible, and you'll get more items for it because each of the packs is dropping more items. Now, in addition to this, bosses will drop 1 less item for having high stacks of Nephalem Valor. So, in a way it evens out, but the truth is I think the potential for getting a lot of items is increased now as long as you're trying to fight more packs. So you don't get as many items from bosses now, but you get more from elites, which is great. I'm honestly a big fan of that change. I've already seen a lot of high-end, or a lot of rares dropping from mobs because of this change. So I'm happy to see that. Included with this change now, there's some other interesting things here, as of course the damage reduction for monsters in Acts 2, 3, and 4 in Inferno. This is great. I went in, I finally was able to go into Act 2 on my own on my barb and fight some normal monsters without getting one-shot. For example, the Lacni, or Lacuni? I think it's Lacni. Or is it Lacuni? Never mind. I'm terrible at pronunciations, as you all probably know by now. Anyway, I would normally get killed almost instantaneously from those things. They have this, 3 to 5 hit combo where they just swing around, do a tumble, swing again. That would kill me pretty much if I got hit by half of that. And now I was able to fight them off, and I actually killed a champion pack going into Act 2, which for me is very hard to do prior to the patch, just because of the high amount of damage. Now, it's still difficult. Please don't take this to say that the everything has been made super easy mode. No, that's not true. I mean, even farming, and you can probably tell from the footage that I've got, I died even going into Act 2 and fighting these monsters. But the thing is through creative movement and basically using a bit of strategy, because I honestly died because I had a pack of monsters that were being buffed by Overseers. I had to kill the Overseers first, and then the pack itself wasn't a big deal. But I could use movement and use my skills properly. I was able to fight the pack, and I felt good doing it. Died once? Yes, but I still did it, still made it, and I was quite happy with that. So along with that, honestly, they've made a lot of changes to individual monsters' skills and even AI. Monsters that used to run away from you are not going to run away nearly as much now. And this is great because, honestly, one of the biggest problems I had in Inferno was fighting a pack that would run away constantly, and I couldn't do enough damage and they'd enrage on me. That was miserable. Now they have made life for melee a little bit easier as well, for example by changing mortar. The mortar affix hurls faster. Basically the minimum range has been doubled, so you should no longer be hit by mortars if you're melee and in there fighting. Now if you move away you might get hit. I was getting hit by a few during my farming today, but if you are in there and fighting the monsters and you're in the group, previously they could do this crossfire thing that you'd get hit by each one. Now that won't happen, so that feels really good. It's also more of a threat to ranged, so with the reduction in damage, range still have to watch out. So I think that'll make for maybe a little bit more interesting gameplay. I'm kind of hoping to bring a range class up into Inferno, because with these changes I'd like to see if I could actually survive or make a build that's based a little more on survivability. Since everybody else is going glass cannon, I want to see what a ranged class can do with a little bit more survivability. With the reduced damage, it might even be possible. Of course, they reduce these damages, but that's not to say that they've made the game easy. Oh no, no, no. One change as far now is that each of the bosses has been improved in some way. For example, the Skeleton King will now summon skeletal archers in Hell and Inferno. So not only the 4 that he summons normally, the returned and the soldiers, he will also summon 2 returned archers for a total of 6 monsters per wave rather than just 4. So that means when he does a summon, he usually summons 2 waves. So instead of 8, you're going to get about 10 monsters. Or 12 actually. My apologies. So yeah, that's a lot, and that damage can start to add up. I had to actually start taking out some of the archers because they were not getting cleaved by all the melee, and I had to actually go out and take them out. So you've got that. You've got the Warden, who also in Act 1, he is now fast and molten in addition to Jailer. And not only that, but in Inferno, he gets Desecrator. So they've made some of the mini-bosses a little tougher. There was a bug fix to the Butcher, actually. This was an interesting one. Apparently, the corner panels in the Butcher's room were doing more damage than intended. And that's an interesting change because when I went in today, apparently my DPS fell off so much that I hit the Enrage on the Butcher. Fire everywhere, but I made it. I survived. I actually killed the Butcher with a full Enrage, and I sat there and took fire because my build was defensive, my armor was defensive. I, was sitting. So basically, I'd switched to my. No, I don't even think I was using my shield at the time, but I was dual wielding, and each weapon had life on hit. So I was able to dodge some fire and still kill him even with the enrage timer. So that was kind of fun to do. Honestly, every boss has had some kind of upgrade here. There's enrage timers now for Zoltan Kuhl, Belial, the Siegebreaker. The Siegebreaker also has reflect damage on him in Inferno difficulty. One nice thing about the Siegebreaker that I like is he now drops health globes at every 25 percentile mark. I think that's great because one of my problems with the Siegebreaker when I was looking at the fight to try and see how his mechanics worked. Almost every boss has a way of getting health back. The Siegebreaker doesn't. So he actually drops health globes now. That's nice to see. Yeah, massive changes to Izual actually in Act 4. So honestly, I really recommend looking at the patch notes. I don't want to read off every little patch note as this video here is kind of going over my opinions and things like that. So this video is going to be a little long just because by nature of that I'm doing a lot of talking beyond what's in the patch notes. So I don't want to go over every little thing or this video is going to be 5 hours long. But one really nice thing, and I would love to see what you guys do with this, is there is a bug that's been fixed that was pretty bad when the game came out, and that was the fact that dots did not crit. Dots were not affected by your critical strike rating. And now they fixed it, so you can get crit from dots. Now, I didn't do a lot of research in improved attack speed in dots, but I had heard that some of the dots are worded, the way they're worded in their tooltips anyway, suggests that some of these damage over time abilities are not affected by improved attack speed, so therefore they will always do a set damage in a set time frame. So with a lot of people getting improved attack speed, obviously, that being the best stat, dots were kind of obsolete. Now you can go into crit rating and your dots will be improved. I'd like to see, you know, what someone might be able to do with maybe a good two-hander with some high damage and some high crit, and doing a dot build. In fact, I think when I do my Witch Doctor playthrough, I might even just try that, just to see how it is, because I enjoyed making a dot build in beta. Maybe I'll do it now. So that's great to see. I would like to see what you guys think of that, honestly, and see if you guys think that there was some more viable builds now. A lot of this is, a lot of these bug fixes and whatnot are making other builds more viable. So now that these bug fixes are out of the way, I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with the balance patch that's going to come out. Even more so am I interested in the legendary patch that will fix, basically add new procs and new abilities to legendary items. I find that compelling. I would love to see legendary items that come out with a unique proc. Like, let's say there's a legendary item that has horrible stats compared to what I'm using, but it has this one proc. Let's just say it has this one proc. Maybe it procs a massive AoE damage for, I don't know, 10,000 or something like that. Let's just say it's a mid-level item and say that's a lot of damage, but it's a low chance to happen. You know, that I find that interesting because, you know, the stats overall are low, but if I get that proc, sometimes it might help me in a pinch. You know, I think that's a horrible example, but you know, that's why I'm not on the item development team. I would love to see stuff like that where you get this proc that does something unique. I mean, in Diablo 2, there were weapons that could proc skills off of other classes. You know, classes that like if you were a barbarian, you might be able to proc a frozen orb from the sorceress if you had a weapon that did it. I mean, that was stuff I thought was really cool, and I'm hoping that those might be some of the things they're going into it. Won't be able to tell until we get to that patch, but that's a bit down the road. Okay, so looking over the patch notes now, just trying to see if there's anything else that's really important that I want to go over. Yes, crafting. Crafting costs have gone down a lot. So 1 to 59, all crafting costs have been reduced from anywhere between 50 and 75%. Massive. Everything must go. It's a fire sale. Go! Buy now! All your crafting costs are reduced to $99.95. Craft now. That's right. Crafting, maybe not the most viable thing right now, but more viable than it was. The gold cost to level the blacksmith has been reduced by 50%. The things you can make from him have been dramatically reduced. I was looking at mid-level items and they're only going for maybe 1,000 to 2,000. I mean, that's a massive reduction in costs from compared to what they were. So you can actually craft while leveling. Inferno gear is still kind of expensive, but that's to be expected for items that can have 5 affixes on them. So I'm hoping to maybe see people use their artisans a bit more. Especially the jewel crafter, he's been fixed. Basically, gold costs are insanely small for him now for the gems up to level 8. For example, chip gems. It would take you 3 chip gems and 500 gold to turn it into a flawed. Now it only takes 10 gold and 2 gems. So you can make more gems and it costs you less money. Of course, once you get into Inferno, Perfect Square, I believe, is where it starts, and it costs 20,000 for that, then like 30,000 or 50,000 for the next, I think. So yeah, Inferno gems are still very, very, very expensive, but the tome cost and page cost for each gem, even the Inferno stuff, has been reduced a bit. So the Inferno gems, they need to be expensive though, because they don't drop. The high-end gems do not drop. They have to be crafted. So these are some great quality of life changes that I'm really glad to see. I think they've done a really great job on this patch. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else because there's so much in this patch. I really think you should go out and read these patch notes if you haven't already. It's looking good. Now there is one undocumented change that I did notice in the options. I saw it mentioned on DiabloFans forums, but I couldn't see what the option was because I was at work, so I went in and took a look myself. Shadows in the game now. You have more options of shadows. The low doesn't change, but the medium and the high have new options now. You have smooth and regular. I've got a little footage here of what that does. Smooth shadows makes the shadows a bit more realistic in the fact that they're not a perfect image of you. They're kind of blurred, and the way you would expect it to happen with light diffusion around your body, you know, it would actually not create a perfect form-fitting shadow. It's a little blurriness there. So if you use smooth, it shows a shadow that feels a bit more realistic. If you use the regular, then the shadow is pretty much just like another polygon of you. You know, it's just so you know, it's personal preference. Maybe you don't even want them on, but I thought it was kind of neat that they added those. I hadn't seen those before. So, all right, I think that's it. I mean, there's so much here that there's not too much. There's so much to go over, and I've basically spent a whole playthrough in time talking about this patch. So, all right, I would be interested to hear all of your thoughts and opinions here in the comment section, or you could email at theshadowpost@gmail.com. Like to see what people think. Honestly, I've seen on DiabloFans, it seems a lot of people have been receptive, although there have been some negative feelings. And that's kind of understandable because a lot of the changes, especially to improved attack speed, kind of rub people the wrong way. I know some demon hunters are really upset about the tentacles being fixed, and it was, keep in mind, that was a fix. It was too good. I'm sorry that it reduces your DPS, but unfortunately, they have to make skills be worthwhile. And that was not conducive to that kind of gameplay. But still, just because I feel this way doesn't mean you can't leave your own opinions, correct? So please, feel free. Leave them below. If you have anything you want me to comment on or anything like that, you know, I'd be more than happy. I would love to kind of go into a mailbox type of section. I just hadn't gotten much mail as far as anything in the shadowpost@gmail.com. But yeah, I wouldn't mind doing a question and answer kind of thing. So, hey, let me know, guys. Also, I'm going to be doing a full playthrough again. The poll is still up on Facebook, and right now the Demon Hunter's winning. It was only by 1 vote, and I think last time I looked it went up to like 2 or 3 votes. So yeah, Demon Hunter is probably going to be the next playthrough, but if you want to try and change that or give another class a fighting chance, I will probably give it until the weekend. And yeah, vote for your favorite class. The poll is on facebook.com/ruronikage. Just like the username here in YouTube. Okay, guys, this is Kagekaze, and we've just gone over patch 1.03. I'll see you guys again soon.